Good evening. I'm Thomas Hale, and this is the Daily Pivot. In the early hours of this Saturday, January 3rd, 2026, the world shifted. As reported by the Associated Press, U.S. military forces conducted a series of large-scale strikes in Caracas, resulting in the capture of President Nicolás Maduro and his wife, Cilia Flores. While celebrations have erupted in South Florida, the legality of this operation is being questioned in every capital across the globe. Tonight, we look past the smoke at La Carlota Airport to ask, what does it mean for the United States to run a sovereign nation? Let's bring in the panel.
Thomas, it's a morning of liberation. Fox News is confirming there were 0 American casualties in an operation that removed a dictator. Newsmax has already shared the photo of Maduro aboard the USS Iwo Jima. This wasn't just a strike. It was the execution of a valid Department of Justice warrant. For the first time in a generation, the Monroe Doctrine actually has teeth, and the hostile communist regime in our backyard is finally finished.
It's not liberation, Reagan. It's a lawless abduction. According to CNN, the administration's own chief of staff previously admitted that land strikes in Venezuela would constitute an act of war, requiring congressional approval. Mother Jones is reporting that the president bypassed the War Powers Act entirely because he claimed Congress has a tendency to leak. We have just signaled to every nation on earth that sovereignty is a myth if America decides it wants your resources. This isn't democracy. It's 19th century imperialism with a 21st century drone feed.
Let's ground this. Reagan, you mentioned the DOJ warrant, and Senate Majority Leader John Thune did indeed call it valid. However, Hale is right to point out the procedural vacuum. The American conservative is already warning that this pressure campaign is a crisis of our own making. Reagan, how do you justify running the country, as the president stated this morning, without a clear transition plan for the Venezuelan people themselves?
We justify it through stability, Thomas. Newsmax reports that U.S. oil companies are already prepared to enter the country to rebuild the badly broken infrastructure. We aren't just taking. We are repairing what Maduro's bus driver economics destroyed. If we leave a power vacuum, we get a civil war or a Russian puppet state. Citing Secretary Marco Rubio, this is about ending the shadow fleet that fuels global terrorism. We are providing the security that allows for an eventual transition to someone like Nobel laureate Maria Corina Machado.
Oh, please. ProPublica has spent the last year documenting the American nightmare this administration inflicted on Venezuelans, deporting rule-abiding families to mega prisons in El Salvador. Now, we're supposed to believe we're their saviors? The BBC is reporting that the U.S. plans to tap Venezuela's vast oil reserves to sell to other nations? This isn't about human rights. It's about a hostile takeover. We're not building a democracy. We're building a gas station.
That is a cynical, anti-American talking point, Hale. Maduro was a drug trafficking kingpin. Would you rather he stay in power and continue the disappearances documented by your own favorite outlets?
I'd rather we not become the very thing we claim to despise. You can't bring liberty at the tip of a bayonet without a vote from the American people's representatives.
The American people voted for a president who promised to put America first and secure our hemisphere. This is exactly what they asked for.
Enough. Stop. Reagan, Hale, let's pivot. We're arguing about oil tankers and war powers while 8 million Venezuelans are currently in exile. ProPublica and Mother Jones have both highlighted the human cost of our shifting immigration policies. Whether we agree with the strike or not, we are now the de facto caretakers of a humanitarian catastrophe. If we're running Venezuela, we are no longer just judges. We are the ones responsible for the breadlines and the hospitals.
Thomas is right. If we're there, we can't just be there for the crude oil. We have to address the fact that, as CNN's analysts pointed out today, the Venezuelan people are terrified and divided. Removing a dictator doesn't automatically create a democracy. If we don't focus on the human equity of the transition, we're just the new occupiers in a long line of them.
I agree that the responsibility is massive. But we have to recognize that security is the first human right. You can't have a hospital if a cartel is running the neighborhood. As reported by Fox News, the goal has to be a proper transition. We have to ensure that the vacuum isn't filled by the same corruption with a different face.
Security may be the first human right, but it can't stand alone without justice. If we rebuild Venezuela only through force, we'll inherit the same instability we claim to cure. The test of this mission isn't whether we control the oil fields. It's whether the Venezuelan people believe we see them as partners, not as projects. Because if we start by ignoring their sovereignty, we teach them nothing about freedom.
Exactly. We have to empower the civil society that Maduro suppressed, not just the ones who agree with Washington's energy policy.
And we have to stay strong enough to ensure that Russia and Iran don't try to claw back that influence while we're debating the fine print.
We find ourselves at a crossroads where national security and human rights are no longer separate lanes, they are the same road. Tonight, a husband and wife sit in a cell on a U.S. warship, and a nation of 30 million people is waking up to a world without the only leader many of them have ever known. We can argue, and we should, about the reach of executive power and the ethics of oil for stability. But beneath the geopolitical chess match lies a singular human truth. Liberty is not a gift one nation gives to another. It is a dormant seed that can only grow when the soil is prepared. If we truly intend to run Venezuela, let it not be as masters of their resources, but as stewards of their potential. Our solution cannot be found in a barrel of oil or a drone strike alone. It is found in recognizing that the Venezuelan mother in Caracas wants exactly what the mother in Chicago wants: a life free from fear and a future for her children. If we act out of that shared humanity rather than partisan gain, we might actually find the proper transition we all claim to want. I'm Thomas Hale. We'll see you next time on the Daily Pivot. Subscribe.